Hey, what's up? It's another cooking vid. I know I haven't really been posting. I've just been really busy with things. It's really hard to juggle martial arts and bodybuilding and script writing and running a business and doing these things, these videos. It's exhausting. Today we're gonna make some really low fat, low calorie ice cream. Well, ice cream like product. If you follow me on Instagram, hey look, my Instagram, you would have seen that I've been working on this recipe for quite a while. It's been off and on, I'd say like a year and a half. Yeah, it's been a while. I've tried a bunch of different things. So my goal with this recipe was to not buy an ice cream machine because I'm poor, obviously. Look around. Well, you can't, but I can. I still live with my mom. And of course, keeping it as low fat as possible. That means I can't use heavy cream or all the fatty, good tasting stuff that makes ice cream taste so good. So I've tinkered with a lot of things. I think the recipe has gotten as good as it can in regards to the constraints I've put on myself. And it's really easy to make. It just takes a lot of things. So I'll show you that. I'll show you what you need now. Alright, this is all the stuff you'll need. It's quite a bit of things. You definitely need a blender to make this. You can't do this with a shaker cup. I know I've given you some things that you can do a shaker cup with. You really need a blender for this. 1 egg, you need some fat-free cream cheese, some low-fat ricotta cheese. Xanthan gum is optional, but you really want to get it because it adds a lot of thickness to the end ice cream product. This is pretty much key here, the silken tofu. You could try different types of tofu, but silken is the smoothest and will give you the best ice cream-like consistency. Cashew milk, cinnamon, stevia, and cacao. That's one hell of an angle, huh? So, measurements. You're gonna wanna start with your milk, and you're going to do 2 ounces of milk, right? So 2 ounces of milk. Okay, your 1 egg, you're just using the egg white. Remember, we're trying to keep this as low calorie as possible. Obviously, if you replace all the ingredients I showed you with like real whole milk and actual cream cheese and full fat ricotta, then you're gonna have something very close to actual ice cream, whereas this, not so much. Now we're gonna do 1/2 ounce of the cream cheese. So I use a lot of cheeses because it helps it bind together. So the thing that makes ice cream is the fat. That's what gives it that creaminess and doesn't make it go solid. So a lot of what we're using has such little fat that it's really hard to make it like in the ice cream that we know. So I'm using a bunch of cheeses because it really helps bind it in a way to kind of prevent that iciness from forming, which you're still gonna get, but not as much. Okay, and then 1 ounce of ricotta cheese. And then we're gonna do 3.5 ounces of the tofu. All right, now for your dry stuff, we're gonna do cinnamon. If you noticed, I put cinnamon and cacao on everything. You don't have to do this. Also, for flavoring, you can use protein powder. Protein powder actually makes this really almost ice cream like. If you keep all the ingredients the same, but add protein powder instead of this or I mean, you could keep this in. It really gives it a great ice cream consistency. So it really helps bind it together. I'm doing 2 tablespoons of cacao just because I like my stuff really chocolatey. Also, if you're trying to avoid, maybe have this a little better tasting, but don't want to put in all those calories from the protein powder, you can use pudding. You get some fat-free vanilla pudding or chocolate pudding, not already made, a mix, the pudding mix, the dry mix, and put it in here, and it really thickens it up also. For the stevia, I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons. And then your last thing, the xanthan gum. You don't want to put a lot of this because it really makes it thicken up. So you want to do, I usually do, so this is a 1/4 teaspoon. I usually do, I try to do like half of this, half of a 1/4 of a teaspoon. So 1/8 of a teaspoon. But this is the smallest teaspoon I have, so I just do around half of this. You don't need a lot. Okay, now we blend it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's gotten really thick already, so you kind of want to move it around a bit to really make sure everything is consistently blended. Sometimes I even shake it as it's blending. Then you want to check, so there's a lot of dry product caught in the sides, so I'm gonna get a spoon and scoop it down and then reblend it. Alright, it's finally well blended together. If you can see, it's like almost like pudding in there. It's really, and that's the consistency that you want. Everything's mixed well together. It's really thick. So usually what I do is I use an old ice cream container, and I just, here you can see the thickness. If I do this, and I just pour it in there. Now you're going to need to scoop the sides out of this because it just really gets, it's so thick it just kind of sticks all over. The recipe essentially makes a whole pint, and I'll give you the macros. Usually ice creams split their pints into 4 servings, so I'll give you the macros for that after we put it in the freezer and pull it out in like 3 hours. Yeah, so we're gonna put it in the freezer, and then I'll show you what it looks like after. Alright, finally frozen, but if you've ever bought diet ice cream from the store, it's pretty hard. So you want to let it sit out for, I'd say, a good 10-15 minutes. You can also put it in the microwave, but it won't melt well. So it's better just to leave it out for a while. So I'll show you in 15 minutes. Alright, it's finally ready. If you can see, it's nice and squishy on the sides. It's still kind of icy, but honestly that's as good as it's gonna get without an ice cream machine and as low fat as we have it. So I'll give you an aerial view of me scooping it. Alright, so of course you want to start on the sides. It's a lot softer. You can see that. It's still, I mean, there's an iciness to it. So the edges are soft, but the middle is hard. You see that? So it's more of a sherbet than an ice cream, but it has the, well, some of the creaminess of an ice cream. So that's it. It's not bad. Just a year and a half of messing around with it. The macros, so this only turned out to be half a pint, but the macros for this, for the whole thing, is 13 protein, 4 fat, and 7 carbs. You're not gonna find an ice cream that low calorie in the market anywhere. Trust me, I've looked. So because it's 3/4 of a pint, you would divide what I just told you by 3. So per serving, you're looking at like 1 fat, 2 carbs, and like 4 protein. That's really good, bro. Because I've been working on this ice cream so long, something that might be interesting is my notes. So look, this is a 1.5 years worth of notes. Quite a bit. I've tried so many things to make this as ice cream-like as possible. I've tried gelatin, zucchini, bread, flour, oats, buttermilk, cornstarch. There's another one that's similar to cornstarch, but it's not. Cool Whip or whipped cream, the low-fat version, yogurt, and the measurements I gave you for the stuff that I used, I've played with more of this, less of this. There was a point where I used too much cheese, and so the ice cream was too cheesy, so I had to lower the cheese. It's a constant trial and error. I used more than 1 egg. So the version that I gave you is pretty much as good as it gets. It really is. Trust me. I've tried many things. Yeah, so that's it. This is probably the most work I've put into a video because it's been like 1.5 years of shit. So hey, look, my social media and stuff and my website, and you can buy stuff and follow me, and I will have another video next week because this is my free week, so I have more time to do things. Free week from the gym, I mean. So I'll try to crank out like 2 or 3 videos. That way I have something for the next 2 to 3 weeks. By the way, before I forget, if you add protein to that recipe, it's amazing. So much better, 10 times better, but it adds calories. Oh, and also, your macros might variate from mine depending on what products you use. Because I shop at Kroger, so I'm using Kroger cream cheese and ricotta cheese, the lowest fat versions that they have. So you might even find a lower fat version or a lower calorie version. So I'll see you next week.